Hi, Recap Bro here. Today I'm going to explain a sci-fi and romance film, Womb. Released in the year 2010. Let's get started. Rebecca, one of our protagonists, talks to her baby while caressing her belly and begins to remember her childhood. As a child, she visited her grandfather's house on the shores of the beach and met a boy named Thomas for whom she became very curious. One day, he came to pick her up at her house and they both went out cycling. From that moment on, they became very close and began to spend every day together. There was even a day when Rebecca pretended to be asleep so she could sleep over at Tommy's house. By the end of their vacation, Rebecca told Tommy that she was going to live in Japan and he kissed her goodbye, which caused the girl to leave the place with a blush on her face. That same night, while taking a bath, Rebecca receives a phone call from Tommy, who tells her that he is going to the port to say goodbye to her. Rebecca waits for him very excitedly, but Tommy never arrives, so her trip on the boat is very sad. 12 years later, Rebecca returns to the harbor town and visits her grandfather's house, where she notices the passage of time more than ever. She then goes to Thomas's house to meet him, but his mother tells her that the boy no longer lives there. She asks him if he still remembers her, and the woman replies that Tommy insisted them for years to go to Japan. She then gives her the address of the boy's new home. Upon arriving, Rebecca enters and sees a woman lying on the floor reading a book, and as she is about to leave, Thomas appears and the two recognize each other almost immediately. Later, the three of them have breakfast together and the woman who had appeared earlier reveals that she is Tommy's girlfriend as she leaves in a jealous rage. The next day, Tommy calls Rebecca from outside, but she surprises him by arriving from behind. They spend some time talking on the beach and Tommy tells her that he's broken up with his girlfriend now that Rebecca is back in town. Later, they go to dinner at Rebecca's house. She asks him about the surprise he had prepared the day before she travels to Japan and Tommy shows her a matchbox with the snail they had collected when they were little. Then, Rebecca asks him why he didn't go to see her off, to which Tommy only replies that his trip was too early and he overslept. The next day they both have fun running on the beach and Tommy tells her that he will have a trip in a few days. Rebecca replies that she wants to go too, but Tommy doesn't want to give her too many details about it. Later, at Tommy's house, he explains that he has plans to sabotage a polluting company with his group of environmental activists. When Rebecca asks him what the plan is, Tommy takes her to a room where he has a huge cockroach farm and tells her that they will carry all these insects in backpacks to release them in the factory. Tommy says goodbye to his parents and then sets off on the long-awaited trip with Rebecca. As they travel to their destination, Rebecca asks Tommy to stop the car for a few moments to pee. When Rebecca gets out to do her business, she hears the sound of a crash and is perplexed when she turns around. She gets back in the car and stares at the lifeless body of her great love. A few days later, Rebecca finds a note in the matchbook Tommy had left her. The note said that he would wait all his life for her to return. Afterwards, Rebecca wakes up looking at pictures and videos of Tommy on her computer. The next day, she goes to his funeral and upon seeing a flower, she gets an idea. Rebecca finds Tommy's father crying and goes over to comfort him. Later he and his wife go to Rebecca's house. Tommy's mother asks the protagonist to explain the reason for her invitation, and she shows her a form for genetic cloning by pregnancy, as well as explaining that it would be she herself who would give birth to the child Tommy. Tommy's mother explains to Rebecca that they are atheists and that they also raised their son that way, but that even they believe that this is immoral and that they must accept the fate that has been dealt to them. Rebecca replies that it is that same luck that gives them the opportunity to bring Tommy back and leaves the woman in check, and her husband begins to think so too. They both leave the place and leave Rebecca alone. The next day, Rebecca meets with Ralph, Tommy's father. He accepts her proposal and tells her to raise Tommy in that town since he loved the sea and will surely love it again when he is born again. In addition, he tells her that they are going to leave the city and tells her that she still has time to change her mind. But Rebecca doesn't think twice and undergoes the medical procedure to give birth to the love of her life. On her way out, she is spotted by the woman who used to be Tommy's girlfriend. After a while, her belly grows and she is only a few days away from Tommy's birth, so she goes to visit his grave and smiles knowing that he will have a second chance to live again. Days